One of the worst things about real estate is when you have a tenant that just squats in your house and they're not paying you any rent. I remember, thank God this has only happened to me in my career, 13 years, probably only 3 or 4 times max, which is great. I'm happy with those numbers, But I remember the first time I was living in a co-living house. I was actually living there. There were 4 bedrooms and 4 people sharing that house. It was me and 3 other people. And I was the landlord and I owned the house. And this one guy came in and I just raised the rents, I think, from like $7 to $7.25 a month. And I remember, or maybe it was like $6.50 to $7.25 a month. And I remember thinking like, wow, man, if I could get anybody to pay this rent, it'd be great, Because that's basically half of what it would have rented for as just a single family with just one tenant. So I was like, this would be awesome. So I get this guy, he comes in, he's like, man, I can pay the rent. And I just was so excited that I didn't do my normal little procedure. I didn't run a background check. I didn't do any of that. I just was like, okay, you're in, pay me the rent, which sometimes maybe that's me being a little bit greedy. I should think about that. But I've learned my lesson since then, right? And so I was just like so excited that he was in there. Anyway, this guy ended up being the nightmare tenant. He would knock on my door at crazy times of the hour. He would just turn his music on. And then one day he just stopped paying rent. So I kind of confronted him about it and he was like, oh, I'll get it to you. The normal story. Still didn't go by. Well, anyway, I had no lease with this guy. I think I even had a written agreement with this guy, which is obviously not the way to do it. But keep in mind, this was my first ever co-living house. I was learning a lot of lessons. We don't do this now. Long story short, this guy ended up leaving, but he stiffed me for all the rent, and it was just a terrible experience. And I didn't even enjoy living, in my home during that period of time. So what are the lessons that we learned from this? Well, first of all, here are 5 easy steps of how you can evict someone that's staying in a room if they're not paying you rent. Okay? Well, first of all, I get people to say, well, you can't evict someone out of a room. That must be so tough. No, evicting someone out of a room is the exact same process as evicting someone out of an apartment. Let me say that again. Evicting someone from a room is the exact same process as evicting someone from an apartment or a single family house. It's the same process. So it starts with this. Number 1 is, do you have a good lease, right? I always recommend you have a lawyer look over the lease. Now for me, we do membership agreements because we set our system up to be a membership-based organization. We do that for a lot of reasons, specifically our zoning violations and things like that. More on that later. And that good lease, by the way, allows you to give it to a lawyer here in a moment and actually start that eviction process. You got to have a good solid lease that a lawyer's looked over for your state, and you got to be able to ask that lawyer, hey, if this person stops paying, will I be able to evict them on this lease? And they'll tell you yes or no. The next thing is you got to remind people of rent. I know this sounds silly because if you're watching this, you're probably a responsible person. You pay all your bills on time, but most people in America don't pay their bills on time. I don't know if that's true of most people, but a lot of people don't. This is what I've had to learn, right? And so if you don't pay your bills on time, then sometimes you just need that push, that reminder. So we send reminders out on the 2nd, because technically our rent at our place, in our company is due on the 1st, late by the 5th. So we send a rent reminder on the 2nd, we send a reminder on the 5th. Okay, so we're sending those reminders are strong, like, hey, your rent is due. Please make sure you make your payment ASAP. When will you make your payment, right? So we send them those reminders. That may seem like a pain in the butt, but if you're dealing with large volume, some people are just gonna be late and you just need to make sure you ping them. And then on the 6th, so on the 6th, that's one day past their final day to be late, we send them what we call in North Carolina a notice to quit. You can even look that up. It may be different for your state, but I know it's this way in North Carolina. You have to put something on their door. You have to serve them in writing. I think email and text is considered in writing in North Carolina. You don't have to put it on their door. We put it on their door that just says you have 10 days to pay or vacate. So it's their final notice that we have to give them in order to actually begin that eviction process, okay? So if no communication, again, throughout that next 10 days, we're usually sending a message. And this is really my 5th point, is to use call, text, and email. Point number 4 is if no communication, take the lease, take the notice to quit, and give it to an attorney who specializes in evictions. In every city, there are attorneys who the only thing they do is evictions, or it's just about the only thing they do. They're quick at it, they're usually affordable, they do it in bulk, and you can get the best rate. So for us, I think it costs about $240. We pay that lawyer, and he just takes the lease. The next time he goes to court, he files that eviction notice. There's a certain time window that has to pass, and if they still haven't moved out after that window, and they have to get served, the sheriff will come and serve them papers. But if they're still not out by that window, then the sheriffs come and take their stuff out. What I really want to get across to you is this. That's a key person, by the way. Before I say what I'm about to say, that is a key person that you need to have on your team. So you need to ask, go into some realtor Facebook groups, go talk to some realtor friends, go talk to some other investor friends in your area or some investor Facebook groups, and just ask, guys, who's the best eviction attorney in this area? Now, there may be some nuances for your state or your city or your county or whatever. Look into those, talk to that eviction attorney about those, but ultimately, it's not hard to to evict someone from a room if they stop paying your rent. Now, in all of our membership agreements, we have a 30-day cancellation. We can even let them go in 30 days if they break some of the house rules. So your membership agreement and your lease really needs to allow for you to evict them and give them a 30-day notice if they break a house rule, because that's really important for the co-living environment, to keep it pure, to keep it safe, to keep it quiet, to keep it clean, if you have that disruptive, rowdy tenant in there, okay, or member in there. I hope this is helpful. I know I kind of rambled and went on a little bit of a rant, but hopefully you got a nugget or two that you can use. And if nothing else, I want you to understand it's possible and it's not hard. Actually, I was impressed with how easy it is. Now, granted, I'm in a landlord-friendly state, but how easy it was to evict someone from a room. Here's to your journey in co-living. I hope you'll use co-living like I have to accelerate your journey towards retirement and financial freedom. I look forward to seeing you live on the next 5-day challenge that we do, where we educate investors about how to use co-living. See you guys. Much love.